Whenever we hear companies are focusing on creating products for global audiences, we instantly get worried because they don't have good track records. It's unfortunate that once beloved companies are willing to tone down their games for people who don't even want to buy their products, and now we are hearing that Koei Tecmo has created their own ethics department. I have a few different things to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon or a supporter via YouTube memberships. Now, it is unfortunate that I have had to talk about ethics departments so much over the past few years, but this is a new situation brought up by Monblood on Twitter. It says, so Koei Tecmo have their own ethics department now? No wonder Atelier Ryza 3 was censored the way it was earlier this year. Didn't see much talk about their last investors report, but it all makes sense now. To the blacklist of devs they go. Now, there is a very large document here that does talk about, becoming the world's #1 digital entertainment company and global IPs and the company's strengths and things they want to do better. And one specific section in this, post was about an ethics department and SDGs and ESG initiatives, things like social initiatives, governance initiatives, and one section really stood out to everybody. And it starts off with saying society, what we can do. As a member of society, we are committed to academic promotion, regional and social contributions, and disaster relief. And of course, there is a nice little section that says raising the social quality of our products. A dedicated usability team has been established within our quality assurance division. In addition, we have assembled a database of QA knowledge featuring everything from functional bugs to local culture and social issues. Now, for average people, this really wouldn't stick out like a sore thumb because it's shoved in between very important things like activities for disaster relief, addressing gotcha issues, adherence to industry guidelines and ratings like CIRO and the ESRB, so they are very normal things, but then this one little section is shoved right in there just so they got it in there, but you wouldn't pay too much attention to it. And unfortunately, over the years, I have had to talk about companies creating ethics department. This one they're calling a quality just assurance division, very simply. But we've seen like Square Enix now has an ethics department, and it told the Final Fantasy VII Remake developers to restrict Tifa's chest. The job listing for it provided details confirming focus on discriminatory, prejudicial, or offensive content being changed. This all leads back to a larger conversation about global audiences because that's all that companies really care about. They've shoved this focus on global audiences because they believe it's going to make them more money, and in order to do that, they basically need to force their developers to take a step back. They need to censor the content and tone it down so that it's, not going to be flagged in certain regions so that games don't get banned, so that people don't find content too offensive in order to purchase. This focus on global audiences is something I've had to talk about many times, and it is absurd. They are focused on this new audience that doesn't really exist instead of the audience they already have. All they'll end up doing is pushing their real customers away, and that's sad to me. They have made some great content in the past, and of course every company stumbles and messes up, but by creating an ethics department to tone down content or tell developers what they can and can't create is so restrictive that I don't think any good content can be created by them anymore. You need to let developers do their jobs and make what they know will sell, and by restricting them, I don't see a way that they can really flourish. And I've had to talk a lot about censorship, and it's not as bad in Japan Japan, but if they continue to go towards ESG, it's going to move them away from all of the things that have made Japanese titles good, and it'll just make everything they create look like generically bad, toned down Western titles, which is my largest fear. I don't want every game to be a Saints Row reboot or a Forspoken, and when you follow the path towards ESG, it all leads to the same place and the product ends up in a trash pile. The idea of a global, homogenous, ESG-driven culture is ridiculous. Every culture gives you a different style, and that's why people love games and entertainment from different areas of the world, because we get that different take. But if every company has an ethics department that follows these standards, all of that will be killed. I don't want every JRPG to be Skyrim, and I don't want Skyrim to be a JRPG, and things are going to end up being basically mushed together, and we're going to end up with the same product at the end of the day. And we are talking about Koei freaking Tecmo here. Dead or Alive, Atelier, Blue Reflection, Neo. These are just a few franchises that could be completely ruined by this focus on global audiences and meeting ESG initiatives. And this poster did mention about how no wonder Atelier Ryza 3 was censored the way it was earlier this year. I had covered the game when it came out, and honestly, there wasn't a lot of censorship in this. Now, of course, any censorship is still censorship and should be called out, but the primary examples that I saw were the, panty cover-ups, the, black fog of death where you couldn't actually see up their skirts, but this was also in Atelier Ryza 2, so this wasn't new specifically to Ryza 3, but I couldn't find a ton of other examples about censorship. It's not like costumes were completely covered up and the characters were showing no skin, or they completely removed, entire cutscenes or dialogue because it was deemed too offensive. So I don't think that they have been, nitpicking at their recent content and starting to push more towards a global audience, but I do think that we are going to definitely see an increase by this company and their developers going forward. I mean, ultimately, that is what this post basically says, is that this is their new focus going forward. It is very unfortunate, right? Because I love a lot of their games and their franchises, and I want the industry to thrive. But unfortunately, we have seen more companies do this, create things like ethics departments in order to, comb through their content before it even releases in case something is deemed a little too offensive. And the next on the list is Koei Tecmo. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this and of course found it important and informative, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.